Wager Talk Today, Monday, August the 5th. I am Steve Merrill, filling in for the Prez on an extended Canadian holiday. He will be back tomorrow on Tuesday, but don't you worry, summer has officially ended because Teddy Covers is back. He told us it ended on August 1st and then he took a vacation, but he is back. There's proof right there. And we also know, Teddy, that summer has ended because football is here, and you've got opening line report here in 1 hour at 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, and that'll be live every Monday, 1 o'clock Eastern, going forward here this entire football season. So if you want to get a jump start on the preseason, which is in full swing this week, check out opening line report at 1 Eastern here. Teddy's also going to have a big game breakdown on one of the Thursday games, Patriots, Panthers. But we've got a lot of baseball in between. Bryan Leonard talking Red Sox, Royals, his Cleveland Guardians, Diamondbacks. Also going to have Ross Benjamin on talking Astros, Rangers, Phillies, Dodgers, a huge game later tonight on Monday. And then, of course, Tokyo Brandon's got to talk baseball, former MLB scout. He's also looking at Red Sox game, but also the Twins Cubs. So we're breaking down 5 different MLB games, over half the games on the card tonight on Monday. And in between, Teddy's got a little bit of football talk as well. Let's get right to it. Bryan Leonard, welcome to the show. Of course, you can find Bryan on MLB First Pitch throughout the week. I'll be on tomorrow on Tuesday. And Bryan, that's, of course, at 11 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday, right before Wager Talk Today. Welcome to the show, Bryan. I hope you're having a great weekend and into the week here as well.
Yeah, I watched the First Pitch, and they had all the young guys. They're all good-looking young guys, and then we get the veteran unit coming in here. I won't say people's ages, but it's more than the guys on the other show. Really excited. 3-0 day yesterday in baseball, and we've got a pretty good card of games, and not many games on today's card because it's a Monday, but it wasn't like last week. But we've got a couple here that I think are some winners, and we'll get to that in just a second.
Let's start. Just a second. What are we waiting for, Brian? Let's talk about the Red Sox and the Royals. Paxton and Singer, certainly from a starting pitching standpoint, it favors Kansas City, who is the favorite in this ballgame, minus 125. Total's been bet up 9.5 to 10. But while the Royals clearly have the starting pitching edge, do they have the other edges, lineup, bullpen, etc.? Spot, talk about it. Who do you like tonight as KC takes on Boston?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the pitching situation here, and that's what I'm going to lead it with. I've talked in the past about my dislike for James Paxton, but you could still find value in guys that are normal fades, and that's the benefit of Major League Baseball, and that's the line on the game. You find value on bad pitchers, you find value on bad teams, and especially at an underdog price, I think we've got a little bit of an advantage here. The move to Boston is likely his best destination. The Red Sox coaching staff has limited the amount of fastball usage from their pitchers, and it's really been a main reason why this team has exceeded expectations this year. At the trade deadline, they brought in Paxton as well as Lucas Sims. Now, we've already seen the improvements from the former Reds reliever. They locked off his fastball a little bit. He's using his auxiliary pitches, and he had a really nice outing the other day in his first game pitching for the Red Sox. I think we're going to see more of that here with Paxton. The first game for Paxton didn't go as well, as he allowed 3 earned runs in 4 1/3 innings hosting the Mariners. But his advanced stats did look better. His four-seamer, if you take a look at his individual pitches, his four-seamer has been thrown 57% of the time this season overall, with the 373 expected WOBA. It's produced a weak 14.7 whiff percentage. But his knuckle curve and his changeup have produced 36.1 and 31.1 whiff percentages. They've been much better pitches. So we expect both of those pitches to be thrown much more often in the Red Sox uniform as they get him away from throwing his fastball, which has not been good for a few years. So once you get these guys that at one time, you look at his career numbers for Paxton, he's averaging more than a strikeout per inning in his career. Not this year. He just doesn't have the fastball any longer. And since he's gone to a new team, Boston will make him keep that on the back burner. So less fastballs for Paxton means more success for Paxton and the Boston Red Sox. Brady Singer finally living up to his expectations with a solid season. If you take a look at his traditional stats, 2.88 ERA, 1.16 WHIP, But a closer look shows his expected ERA to be 4.45, which is 1.5 runs higher. This far in the season, you rarely see a differential like that, and that's something we could take advantage of here. He's thrown 3 quality starts in a row, so we expect some major regression. And I've talked about that in the past. There's no correlation between pitchers that have thrown 2 or 3 good starts. I will go to my deathbed arguing that with Marco and a few other guys, but there's no scientific information that's been out there to prove it that happens, which means everything is random. And so you can't take a look at recent usage unless there's an injury involved, and you always want to keep an eye on that. But in fact, when you take a look at who Singer has pitched against, lately it's been the White Sox twice, the Cubs, the Rockies, the Rays, and the Marlins. In fact, he's faced the White Sox 4 times this season, and he took on the Reds 1 time this year on the road, and it's a situation where the Reds scored 4 earned runs in 2.2 innings against him. The Red Sox hit him well. He hasn't faced many good offenses. And offensively for this game, the Royals rank only 20th in the league in WRC plus versus Southpaws. I think the Red Sox got a nice advantage here. We led off by saying that the better pitching matchup is for Kansas City, but I don't think that's really true. Singer's been better than Paxton, but I expect some changes for Paxton, and I like the way the Red Sox pitchers pitch this year. Give me Boston as a nice underdog here.
So when I'm looking at the Red Sox, really, when I'm looking at the second half of the MLB season, as we head into August, I call about, low-hanging fruit. The plays that, that make sense, the plays that are, you're not spending 3 hours trying to figure it out. And to me, the low-hanging fruit with the Red Sox is the over. The lineup's been dynamite. The pitching's been suspect. The defense has been suspect, and they're flying over to, 11-2 to the over their last 13 ball games. We've seen over money already for this one. Paxton may be better than his numbers indicate, but he's no ace. Singer's a guy you're expecting regression from. Would you lean over here as well between the Red Sox and the Royals, or is this a situation that the 9.5s are gone, at 10 you missed the number, you're better off leaving it alone? Talk to me about the total and the low-hanging fruit when it comes to Boston and KC.
If I was to play anything to do with the total, I'd probably play the Boston team total over. As I mentioned, Kansas City doesn't hit lefties very well, and he came over from the National League. Now, obviously, he pitched in the American League before. He pitched for Boston before. But Kansas City's a team. It's a younger team that hits fastballs very well. I don't think they'll have as much success here against Boston, especially if Paxton does what I expect and get away from throwing the fastball. I think that's something they haven't seen. So I think that gives them an advantage here. So while obviously runs will probably be pretty plentiful in this game with the way these two pitchers are, I just don't think Kansas City is going to be that involved with them. So if I had to play the over, I would play Boston's team total over.
It's Bryan Leonard talking MLB, Major League Baseball here on WagerTalk Today. Noon Eastern every day, Monday through Friday is WagerTalk Today. But if you'd like to see Bryan and me break down almost every baseball game on the board this week, along with Dan Alexander, check out First Pitch tomorrow on Tuesday and also again on Friday. It'll be both me and Bryan at 11 a.m. Eastern. And, of course, First Pitch is every day, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern live. We take the viewer questions. We answer any games you want to look at. Bryan, got to ask you on the way out here about your Cleveland Guardians. I always say hardly anybody wins over 60%. Well, there's only one team in baseball right now that's winning more than 60%. And who would have thunk it was your Cleveland Guardians? Sure wouldn't have been your Cleveland Indians, but the Guardians are getting it done now. Royals, meanwhile, have been a little bit of a surprise story also in that AL Central. In fact, they're 13 games above 500. If you look at their net run differential, they should be 19 games above 500. Kansas City's been a very strong home team this year, one of the best in baseball. Good matchup tonight. What are you doing with this one? I'm sorry, that was the Boston Kansas City game. But what are you doing with your Cleveland Guardians and Diamondbacks? Arizona, of course, the defending NL pennant winners. They've been coming on as of late as well. So two teams in decent current form overall, Arizona at Cleveland.
You scared me a little bit there. I thought they were playing a split squad game. I thought this was preseason.
Yeah, I scared myself, Bryan. Scared myself.
Yeah, that's okay. The
Indians are playing the Royals
healthy
afterwards.
There you go. Diamondbacks are getting healthy and are playing some of the best ball in the league because of it. They rank 7th in baseball in WRC plus versus lefties, so they've hit lefties very well all season. And they get to take on a pitcher who hasn't fooled anyone this year. When you look at Logan Allen's Savant page, all you see is blue, and that's not a good thing. Yes, he has an 8-4 record on the season, but that has nothing to do with his pitching. He's been getting a lot of run support. It's been amazing, the run support he's got, but you can't expect that every game. It doesn't matter who's on the mound. It's just a random occurrence. But he comes in with a whopping 5.67 ERA, 1.55 WHIP. Now, his expected ERA is 5.54, so all his bad numbers are well deserved. And then when you look at his profile, we see he's better than league average in just one category, 54th percentile in the ground ball rate. Ground balls are good. That's nice. But when you can't get anybody out, it's terrible. In fact, the hard hit rate has been bad. He's 38th percent or worse in every other category as opposed to the ground ball rate. And his hard hit rate, get this, is 9.6% higher than league average. So when he gets hit hard. I watch every game for Cleveland all season long. I hold my nose and I hold my breath when he's on the mound, and that's not a good thing going against this Arizona offense that's playing really well. Zach Gallen's having a down season by his standards, a 3.56 ERA, 1.25 WHIP. But those aren't bad numbers. Those are just bad numbers for Zach Gallen. He's only allowed 5 earned runs in his last 21 innings on the road, so he's pitching well on opponent turf. His breaking ball run value is in the 96th percentile on the season, while his off-speed run value is in the 82nd percentile. I expect him to throw less of his four-seamer down the stretch, which has been by far his worst pitch. I talked about that with Paxton earlier, a big strikeout guy. Maybe he's just going to have to get to that point right now with Gallen where he uses his other pitches more, because those are having a lot more success than his fastball. Cleveland enters plays today with the best record in baseball, as you mentioned. But when looking at net run differential on the season, they're plus 85. Nothing wrong with that. But that is not hold up for them to be the best team in baseball with their winning record. The plus 85 is behind the Orioles, Yankees, Royals, Phillies, and Dodgers. The Guardians are a good team that has a very fortunate record so far this year because they've got the best bullpen in Major League Baseball. But there's a reason why the Diamondbacks are favored today. How often do you find a team like Cleveland who plays well at home and has been playing well lately, and you get them as a home underdog? There's a reason why Arizona's favored here. And unfortunately, as a Cleveland fan, Arizona is the way to go in this game.
I want to ask you about Logan Allen for this ballgame, because here's a guy he got sent down a month ago after a pretty good start. He struck out, I think, 8 or 9 batters, and then got sent down to AAA to Columbus, and now today's his first start back. Is that a potential bet-on situation for a hurler who didn't live up to expectations? He goes down, gets a taste of the minors again, and now they bring him back up. It's like, all right, show us what you can do for real this time. Do you have any numbers on that, or do you have any thoughts on that with a guy that's been demoted and now gets a second chance?
Well, he hasn't been demoted. This isn't the first time he's been demoted. Since he's been up with Cleveland last year, he's been up and down all year long. And the only reason he's up there right now is because of the injuries. Tanner Bibee is hurt. He's there right now. He's the class of this Cleveland starting rotation. He's already been pushed back twice this week. Allen wasn't expected to be called up. He's called up here because they're running out of starting pitchers. Now, they do have Cobb, who they got in the San Francisco trade, but he just pitched a couple days ago on Friday, I believe it was, in the minors. So he's not going to be back until later on in the week. They're desperate for starters at this point. They've got so many injuries from their starting staff going all the way back to, earlier this season. So they're not, him coming back is not anything that he has done. It's more of a situation of need. So he comes back in this one. So I don't have anything on that. Originally, when you find a young player, and we've seen this with the Baltimore Orioles with their second baseman, Holiday. He's already been up twice this year. He failed. He's now up now, and he's looked really good. That happens when you've got that kind of talent. As much as I like to say that Logan Allen does not have that type of talent, his ERA in his career is 4.57. with a whopping 1.46 whip. He's just an innings eater right now for Cleveland. They need somebody to take that spot. Arizona's the way to go in this one.
It's Bryan Leonard talking baseball here on Wager Talk Today. And yet I got confused with the Royals because that was one of the points I was going to bring up, Brian, is that the Royals are sitting third in the division with the best run differential, one of the best in baseball, and they've been very strong home versus the road. One thing your Guardians have going for them, though, is that they're 8 games above 500 against winning teams. Nobody else in that division, including the Royals, are 27-31. Nobody else has been good against winning teams. So we'll see if that makes a difference down the stretch for your Cleveland Guardians. That's Bryan Leonard. You can find him tomorrow on Tuesday, along with myself, Steve Merrill, at 11 a.m. Eastern here on First Pitch, talking about a ton of baseball games. Also, this Friday, we'll be together on the show. Brian, what else you got going on this week at WagerTalk.com?
Yeah, as of right now, these are the only 2 plays I have up for clients. I may add more later, but we'll have to check more information. I don't handicap the preseason, but this deal, if you buy August, you get September and October for free, is a tremendous deal. We'll be back for the NFL as we are every year during the regular season. But I was number 3 last year in net profit in college football. We've been very good in our history in college football. In fact, good in the NFL too, although I did have a down season last year in that regard. But this is a tremendous thing. You get baseball, you get the baseball playoffs, you'll get football coming up. So it's a great situation. And if you don't choose me, choose somebody else, because this is the time to really buy in with this great package. Buy 2 months, you get the next one for free. Really nice deal for anybody out there, including the 2 gentlemen I'm talking to right now.
Yeah, and Brian, you don't have to decide because you can have multiple uses here. No promo code needed. It's on everybody's page right now. You can get Bryan Leonard, Teddy covers, myself, Steve Merrill. You see it. You have until August 11th, as you see on the screen there. But why delay? Because every day you get on this month is a day sooner of August you get for free. Hey, look, you've already missed 4 days. Shame on you, but there's still 27 more days in the month of August for free when you buy September and October. It's buy 2 months, get 3 months right now. No promo code needed. Every capper, wagertalk.com. And Teddy, of course, that includes not only baseball all the way into the World Series, the start of the NBA in October, but basically half the college football season, but also a good amount of the NFL season and the entire preseason, which did start last Thursday night. And I thought I didn't have a play on the game, but as I turned it on third quarter to check in, they were interviewing the Bears general manager in the booth at like 10:30 Eastern. I'm thinking, this is an 8 o'clock Eastern start. It's a little strange. The game can't be over yet. And I thought to myself, I wonder if there's a weather delay. And of course there was. And mid-third quarter, the game had already gone over the total, the closing line of 32. They were already at 21-17, and they never resumed like they were trying to. Of course, I figured, oh, well, everything's canceled. It has to go 55 minutes, Nevada rules, but not so fast, my friend, right? Things are a little different now with the legalization of sports betting in multiple different states. And there was a little bit of a confusion probably on that game Thursday night.
Well, it has nothing to do with different states. It has everything to do with rules. And of course, I'm back from a little COVID-plagued vacation. I had only one bet the entire time that I was gone. That was on the NFL Hall of Fame game that you were just talking about. And I couldn't have been more right. I read the over 32 and a half. I think I put it out at 33, closed 32 and a half. And then it cashed by the first drive of the third quarter. And then obviously came the thunderstorms and the game was canceled. And when we talk about what happens then, well, on the internet, it's all chaos. Oh my God. But different books have different rules. Jeffrey Benson from Circa was one of the front men on Twitter. Quote, a game was called due to weather. Given it didn't go 55 minutes per our house rules, it will be a refund on full game, money line, side, total. Same for second half bets. Don't shoot the messenger. I don't control the weather. No, we didn't call in a lightning strike because we were heavy on the under. No, we aren't going to pay out. You're over. That's Circa's house rules. We compare that, of course, our good friend Dave Sherapin tweeting at the same time. Since the beginning of time, a football game has to be played for 55 minutes to be a game in the books. He talks about the FanDuel house rules. Game must play at least 10 minutes in the fourth quarter. If a game starts and then gets suspended prior to that time and is not completed within 24 hours, all contest actions that are not unequivocally determined will be voided. Abandoned or postponed games must be played within 48 hours. Now, that's a different house rule than the Circa house rule, because Circa is going to refund all the bets. FanDuel with the total already determined. Overs get paid, unders lose. And that can't have changed. So depending on where you bet it, you may have cashed, you may have not. It gets graded at WagerTalk as a push. So a right side winner where the over cashes by the first drive of the third quarter in the first preseason game, we'll call that a bad beat for my clients and I. No mind getting it out of the way on the opening day of preseason. Went 8-2 in NFL preseason last year. Should be 9-2 right now after the Hall of Fame game. That's okay. No harm, no foul. Prime for more. I'm $2 Tuesday tomorrow. You will want my $2 Tuesday play in NFL preseason action this week. There you have it, Steve.
Yeah,
That's
Teddy,
what I
of
learned
course.
over the week.
Well, I was going to say, this, of course, is something that would not happen in the regular season. They would finish that game. They would wait 2-3 hours if they had to finish the game. It's just being the Hall of Fame game, no starters even on the field for either team. It was very easy for them to cancel basically a glorified scrimmage. And even then, I thought they'd probably try to get it in. Let me ask you real quick before we get to Ross Benjamin. I mean, I don't want to say there should be like a national standard, but now in Nevada, I thought maybe that was a state rule. Do you think that's a house rule, Circa, or is that a gaming commission rule? It's got to go 55 minutes.
I don't know.
My guess was
it's one of those things I should know, but I don't.
Yeah.
I'm pretty confident it's house rules. It's one house rule after the next. That's not a gaming rule. That's a house rule.
And the other thing that came to mind, I'm big on diversification, of course. I always say shop around. Yeah.
Let me just show you. It's a house rule that is universal, the 55 minutes. So
maybe
it's
that's
not
why I thought it was a state rule. Yeah.
But it's a house rule that everybody uses because it avoids they need stated rules. You need to avoid controversy, and this is a rule that does that.
Yeah, and it's interesting, too, because I always talk about shopping around for line value, right? Take over 31 as versus over 32, shop around for the best number. But now, probably dig a little bit deeper. I mean, if something weird like this was to happen, you get the same line at two sports books, you should be playing your over at FanDuel versus Circa in this situation because, some craziness like this happens. You could occasionally get a win instead of a push, which is what happened there. Once again, I don't think this will probably happen in a regular season game in quite a while, but it did happen that UNLV game back in the day. Somebody pulled the power cord, if you recall, 20 years ago with like 10 minutes to go or 8 minutes to go in the game. So anyway, once again, read the house rules because if you're getting the same line at two different books, you've got an overplay. It would make sense to play it at the book that's going to pay out if it's already cashed mid-third quarter. Teddy, you're going to have a breakdown in a few minutes on a big game breakdown for Thursday. Once again, Teddy mentioned NFL preseason, also a strong $2 best bet that he'll be releasing tomorrow on Tuesday. And, if that's not enough, check him out here in exactly 47 minutes or 37 minutes, rather, for his opening line report at 1 o'clock Eastern starting this Monday and every Monday throughout the football season. Before we do so, though, let's talk more baseball with Ross Benjamin. And, Ross, you're going to have a solo video coming up, 2 solo videos. We're going to get to one of them free here on the show, but I appreciate you switching over the other one to the Phillies-Dodgers. We're going to get to in a bit because that's a huge game tonight. Definitely wanted to talk Phillies-Dodgers from you. But let's look at Astros-Rangers first, and then I believe you're also going to break down a solo video here later in the afternoon on that Twins-Cubs game for those that are interested. But, Ross, what are your thoughts on this Astros-Rangers game? I mentioned to Brian that Cleveland's in first place. They don't even have the best run differential in the Central. Well, the Mariners have now passed the Astros again, but the Astros still by far have the best run differential in the AL West. So what are your thoughts on Houston? What are your thoughts on this Ranger-Astro game? Maybe the two best teams in the West playing tonight.
Yeah, I believe the Astros might be one of the best teams playing in the West. We keep waiting for the Texas Rangers to wake up, and, they're not hearing the alarm. Since 2022, the Astros have dominated the Rangers in Arlington, 18-5. If you remember last year, they lost that 7-game series in the playoffs to Texas, but they won all 3 of those games on the road and lost all 4 at home. So they fared very well at Texas. I know that Teddy likes looking at stuff like and when it's that dominating, I do too. Andrew Heaney, 3 starts against Houston this year, and he's not been very good against the Astros. A 7.30 ERA and a 1.78 whip during that course of time. In the Texas bullpen, very vulnerable to giving up the long ball, guys. Since the All-Star break, they're number 26 in baseball in terms of home runs allowed per 9 innings pitched. And that's something I definitely take a look at when assessing bullpens and handicapping games. The Rangers have dropped 4 of their last 5 and 7 of their last 9, and that goes back to the point where when are they going to wake up, if ever? And since the All-Star break, Texas can't hit their way out of a paper bag, Teddy. 228 team batting average, 292 on-base percentage. Hunter Brown gets a start for Houston, and he's been solid for the majority of the season after his start. He did get off to a rough start, but he's really come of age of late. 6 of his last 7 on the road have been quality starts. As a matter of fact, 11 of his last 13 starts have been qualified as the quality variety. So he's been pitching very well, not only in the short term, but over the last couple months now. In Texas, this 2-6 in their last 8 when facing a right-handed starting pitcher like Hunter Brown. On the other hand, Houston 6-2 in their last 8 versus left-handed starting pitchers like they'll face tonight. I like the Houston Astros here, the small number of -115 over Texas.
So the markets have moved towards Texas pretty significantly over the course of the last, since the lines opened. I saw -120, -125 even for the Astros. And now I'm seeing the Rangers as favorites at -110 in a lot of spots. What's that money seeing? Is this a bet? Are they betting against Brown? Are they betting on Haney? Is this you have any idea what the broader markets are seeing on the Texas Rangers that makes them take so much money for tonight? Because I couldn't figure it out.
I'm lost on that one too, Teddy. I'm not even going to begin to take an educated guess on that because all the data to me points toward the Astros being the better play here. Again, I'm not going to use this as a premium pick tonight, but I do have a strong opinion here. We got the better starting pitcher in my estimation. We have the better bullpen in my estimation. And again, you look at the right-handed versus left-handed splits and Astros dominating at Arlington since 2022. I got no clue what they're seeing in that regard. And, to me, this baseball, to me, when I look at situations that you just described in terms of what the market's showing, baseball, to me, I place less emphasis on that aspect compared to basketball and football. That's just me, Teddy. But to answer your question, no, I have no clue what they're seeing.
Ross Benjamin talking a little MLB baseball here on WagerTalk Today. And Ross is also going to have a solo video after the show today on the Twins-Cubs game. Tokyo Brandon's going to break that game down next, so we didn't want to double up. So, Ross, I appreciate you doing a different game here, and that's Phillies-Dodgers, which is actually a fantastic game to talk about. 2 best teams in the National League going head-to-head tonight in Los Angeles. And our producer, Dan Alexander, on the edge of his seat right now, wanted to know what you're doing with this one.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I've been doing the Phillies quite often on the show lately, and Dan hasn't been liking any of my picks. Maybe he'll like this one. I don't know. But I'm going to look at the total in this game. And, Teddy, this points toward one of those situations that you just described in terms of the market. I mean, this opened at 8. It's down to 7.5. And I'm not sure why, other than the fact that you're looking at brand name starting pitchers in Aaron Nola and Tyler Glasnow. But Glasnow, to me, Teddy, he hasn't looked right mechanically or physically of late. He's spent a little bit of time on the IL recently, but over his last 4 starts, a 6.43 ERA and only averaging 5.3 innings pitched per start. A lot of that has to do with some control issues. And that 5.3 innings pitched per start is a little bit concerning to me, and I'll get to that later. Aaron Nola, on the other hand, he's made he's 6-3-1 to the over in 10 career starts versus the Dodgers this year. Both of these teams, when you look back since the beginning of July, have really underachieved offensively. Again, that might be a bit of why this total came from 8 to 7.5. But at the end of the day, when you look at both lineups, they have plenty of firepower, and it's just a matter of time before they turn it around. I hate depending on the if come, but at this low a number, you have to take that into consideration. And also, since July the 1st, I've mentioned the concern I have with Glasnow averaging just over 5 innings pitched per start. The reason why is both of these bullpens since the beginning of July have been among the worst in all of baseball. The Phillies especially, both bullpens ERAs over 5. The Phillies giving up a ton of home runs during that course of time. Very low number here, considering both offenses and the fact that both of these starting pitchers aren't exactly in excellent form, especially Glass now. And I'm going to go with the Phillies and the Dodgers here over 7.5. And I know I'm bucking the sharp money here, Teddy, but that's where I'm going.
And both of these teams 4-1 to the over in their last 5 ball games. So it's not like you're bucking a trend or bucking the money that doesn't back into a trend. Certainly both these teams have been cashing overs far more than unders in recent ball games. Ross Benjamin, what do you have to promote? What's going on right now at WagerTalk.com?
Well, we mentioned the NFL preseason earlier in the show here, and people who say you can't make money during the NFL preseason, Teddy, are crazy, and I think that Steve Merrill would agree with me on that as well. Since 2021, I'm 25-15 on our sister site, Sports Memo and Wager Talk in NFL preseason action. That's good for 63%, folks. I pick my spots. Beyond 2021, I've historically done very good with my NFL preseason picks. College football last year finished 62-42, and that's a 60% run. And last year at Wager Talk / Sports Memo, my college football NFL combined was number 2 in money earned. And my Major League Baseball weekday picks, again, Steve, I struggle over the weekend again. And don't ask me, I can't put my finger on it, but my MLB weekday picks, 96-69 since last August, 58%, but more importantly, over $7,000 in profit in my MLB totals during the weekdays. Since July of last year, over a $12,000 profit, folks. So for whatever reason, Monday through Friday, my MLB picks are cooking, and you can see all my extended streaks over at my personal page, which is wt.buzz/RB.
And once again, Ross is going to have a solo video, a third baseball game free for you, Twins Cubs. So check that out here on Wager Talk TV after the show. Make sure you hit subscribe and hit that bell for instant alerts so you know when those solo free play videos go up each and every day in baseball and Olympic basketball. I will be doing the Olympic USA game here for tomorrow, and also going to have the semifinals and both semifinals and the gold medal and bronze games. I'll be doing basically all the games from here on out, solo video free plays for Olympic men's basketball. So hit subscribe and hit the bell as well. Hey, thumbs up, like also if you're finding this free content useful on Wager Talk TV. And Teddy, Ross said the preseason is beatable, and I've always said if these games are truly random, every game would be pick 'em, and we should just blindly bet all the underdogs if it's totally random. And that's not the case because there are edges, and you're going to do a big game breakdown on one of the 2 games for Thursday night in which the betting market at least thinks there's an edge because the Patriots are a 4-point home favorite against the Panthers. These are 2 of the worst teams in the NFL. Another key to the preseason is motivation. You would think both these teams would be hungry to get some meaningless wins in August, but the betting markets are saying the Patriots are the team more likely to win as a 4-point favorite. What are you doing with this one on Thursday night?
Yeah, big game breakdown. Let's talk the Patriots and the Panthers. And it's been steady New England money, as you mentioned, Steve, from an opener 1.5 at most books, now all the way up to -4 against the Carolina Panthers. Total sitting at 34. We've seen a little bit of under money, not a ton. And I'm a believer in the NFL preseason. 8-2, 80% last year with my 10 selections. And conceptually, when it comes to preseason rules, I want to talk about this right off the top. You can't lay more than 1.5 or 2 points without a bet on and a bet against. All right. You can't be like, oh, I like this team, I want to bet on them. There's got to be a bet against element to it if you're going to lay points in the preseason. And let's not forget again, key numbers in the preseason. The 3, not nearly as important as it is in the regular season. We don't worry about 3s as much. 1, 1.5, 2. Those are the key numbers because so many games are going to come down to a 2-point conversion at the end. Worth noting. And of course, the first NFL opening line report. I consider today to be the end of summer. When the first NFL opening line report comes, True Martin and I will be doing that in less than half an hour. So the question is, do we have a bet on and a bet against here? So the conventional wisdom is first-year coaches want to win preseason home games. I haven't really found that to be true over the years. It's a good situation when an 0-2 team comes home for their 3rd preseason game. That tends to be a bet on situation. So who's New England going to play? Well, here's what O.J. Mayo said, Jared Mayo, I should say, the Patriots' new head coach. Quote, "We're still having these conversations. Once again, maybe all the starters will play. I'm not sure at this present time. We'll have a lot of guys to play." That's not necessarily a bet on quote. However, when we read a little bit deeper, okay, quote, "We're going to run the ball. The first preseason game is a very basic game. It's all about fundamentals, running, tackling, all those things. That's the most important thing. We're not going to game plan against our first preseason game. We just won't do it. If they want to game plan against us, that's fine." All right. That's not a let's lay points with them type of situation, or a quote, not by any stretch of the imagination. All right. Basic game plan, running the football. And look, if they're able to control the line of scrimmage with their third and fourth string offensive line in the second half and consistently move the ball up and down the field, I'll be wrong about this one. But I don't see that as being a game plan that makes me want to lay 4 points in a preseason game. Now, not like Carolina's all this bet on. And obviously there's this talk, oh, well, Jacoby Brissett's look good in the in practice. And now they have a QB battle. Will it be Brissett or May? I'm much more interested in teams that have a backup quarterback battle, especially for game one. Like, I don't think Carolina does, but the question is, who's going to go for the Panthers? And right now, I don't know. I don't know if we're going to see Young. I don't know if we're going to see Dalton. I don't know if it's going to be a whole bunch of Jack Plummer, the unsigned free agent. And if it is, we don't want Carolina. We want under. As of now, as we look at this game, it's Panthers and under. The question is, which of the two is the better wager? We'll be working on it over the course of the next couple of days and see if we can figure that out before kickoff. But Carolina and under are certainly the two ways I'm looking at this one right now here on Monday morning. There's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Merrill.
Yeah, Teddy, I love what you said about the backup quarterbacks, and I think that somewhat played out in that Thursday game last week. We know with the Stroud not starting, and of course Caleb Williams not starting, we had Davis Mills and Case Keenum as a third stringer. Whew, I'll take that any time of the preseason. Of course, you cashed your over by early third quarter, and then also the Texans were winning outright at that point. And those two quarterbacks, by the way, Teddy, 17 for 22 out of the gate for Houston in that game, in that preseason game. So preseason is bettable. The preseason is beatable, as Ross and Teddy just said, and I would agree. I third it. All three of us have been doing this since the 90s. It has changed, but it's still beatable. And Teddy's going to break down a lot of the games for you. I'll pick all the games on the opening line report coming up at 1 Eastern.
Yeah, just real quick. I mean, preseason is beatable. It's not beatable the way the regular season is beatable. In the regular season, you have opinions about teams that you can use. In the preseason, every bet you make is information-based, every single one of them, because coaches will tell you what they want to do. Coordinators will tell you what they want to do. We'll see game plans or not game plans, and that's how we make money in August. No opinions. I could care less. I have no opinions about any of these teams in terms of good, bad, whatever. For August, it's information, and the information is profitable if you do the homework.
Right, and of course, if you want that information, if you're new to preseason betting, I highly recommend checking out Opening Line Report at 1 o'clock Eastern today on Monday, as Teddy will give you some insight into all these games coming up this week for week full one of the NFL preseason. Also, if you're looking for Teddy's strongest opinion in week one, get a strong best bet for just $2 tomorrow on Tuesday. Teddy and the Prez will have more information tomorrow here on $2 Tuesday for WagerTalk Today. Let's talk a little more baseball here on the way out, though. We got to bring in a baseball expert, to say the least, and that's Tokyo Brandon. First of all, he's a former MLB scout, and he is number one in MLB profit this calendar year, 2024. And that's not a surprise, Brandon, because you've been number one all sports 3 of the last 4 years combined. So let's talk a couple baseball games. And I mentioned Ross is going to have a free play video on this game in a little bit, but I want to get your thoughts on it as well. Twins and Cubs, Minnesota, Chicago Cubs. What are you doing with this one?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me on the show. The Twins go to the Cubs. We've got two awful pitchers going. Festa's taking on Hendricks. And I've said it before in previous shows that I have a database of about 300 starting pitchers. These two guys don't even show up on the database. They're so bad. So we got two pitchers with 6+ ERAs going here. Two bullpens that are very mediocre. The Cubs, I have them ranked 15 out of 30. Twins, I have them ranked 17 out of 30. So we got two mediocre bullpens. We got two lineups that are hitting pretty well. I have the Cubs currently ranked 14th out of 30, and I got the Twins ranked 8. So, yeah, we got bad pitching, good hitting, and take a look at the over-under. It was only 8, which I found to be very odd. I don't know why this is only 8. I think too much is made out of this wind stuff at Wrigley Field. It's really not that much different than other ballparks, in my opinion. So I think over 8 is a great play here. So that's my first play for the show here is over 8. I do have a 5% play out today in Major League Baseball in a different game. You can go to my page at WagerTalk.com. There's the link right there and get my 5% play. But for the show, I like the Cubs Twins over 8.
So for all the struggles that Kyle Hendricks has had, boy, his last start's the only one of his last 7 that produced more than 8 runs, or that produced, more than 8. He's been an under machine of late. But what I want to ask you more than anything, you said something that really stood out. You said, don't worry about the wind at Wrigley. 29 of the MLB stadiums have totals posted overnight, and a lot of times they don't post the Cubs game till game day. So the bookmakers saying this is the one venue where it really matters which way the wind's blowing. We've got a steady wind blowing in tonight, 15 miles an hour straight from center. You're saying that's overrated in the marketplace? Tell me about it.
Very much so. The wind only really matters about home runs. If you're going to hit a double, if you're going to hit a bloop single, the wind is a 0 factor. So what's really more of a factor, I mean, home runs, I've said this in shows before, but even the best hitter in Major League Baseball hits 1 home run every 17 at bats, which is essentially 1 every 4 games. So you can't really rely on home runs for your cap. What you rely on is run production and strikeouts, how good the pitcher is, how many guys he walks, how many people he puts on base. And that has zero to do with the wind. The wind does have a lot to do with how many home runs will be hit. But like I said, each player is only going to hit 1 home run every 5 or 6 games for average players, which these teams only have average players. So no, I don't take the wind that much into my cap. That's probably the difference between an 8.5 number that the book puts out and the 8. So 8's a great number in this one, and we have 2 horrible pitchers. So over it is.
I love the fact that neither even showed in your database. This is the play the over when neither shows in the database angle, which is pretty cool. And this is, of course, coming from a former MLB big league scout, Tokyo Brandon. Let's look at this Red Sox and Royals game. Brian touched on the side earlier, but I want to get your thoughts on the total and maybe specifically a team total in this Boston-Kansas City game tonight at 8 Eastern.
Yeah. So the Red Sox take on the Royals, and the books overreact to a lot of things. And the Wrigley Field wind is one thing that I believe they overreact to. And they overrate a lot of pitchers, and they underrate quite a few pitchers. Like Patrick Corbin's going today. He's not a good pitcher, but they overcompensate how bad he is. And I think they overcompensate how good Brady Singer is. Brady Singer's pretty average pitcher, actually. He's got a 1.16 whip. It's good. A 2.88 ERA is pretty good. But you got to dig a little deeper. And I have Brady Singer in my database. I have 300 starting pitchers. I rank them on a curve of 30 so I can compare it apples and oranges or apples and apples to the bullpens and the hitters. I have Brady Singer. I have him ranked 25th out of 30 on a curve of 30 pitchers. So his peripheral numbers, not very good. Yeah, he's got a decent ERA. But what I really like is the Boston hitting. They've just been hitting the tar out of the ball recently. I have them ranked number 2 in all of MLB. And the Kansas City bullpen, so-so. This is pretty mediocre. But if you look at how Brady Singer has done against these batters in his career, he's allowed a 294 batting average against and an 892 OPS against. Not a lot of home runs. He's only given up 2 home runs in 34 at bats. But like I said, home runs don't equal runs completely. I mean, you can string together runs, and Boston's really stringing together runs lately. They're really crushing the ball. I like the Boston team total in this one because, Brady Singer has a bad history against this team, and his underlying numbers are not quite as good as his surface numbers. Boston team totals have been cashing recently for me. I've been putting a few out. I'm number 1 in MLB profit in 2024, so I think I'm reading things pretty well. Boston team total over, I think, is the way to go here. The Royals are also hitting quite well. And James Paxton is a bad pitcher, so game over as well would be a decent play, but I really like the Red Sox over in this one.
Red Sox team total over is worthy of a wager, says Brandon Siefkin, Tokyo Brandon at WagerTalk.com. Brandon, what do you have going for the clients right now, today on Monday?
Yeah, I got a 5% play out in Major League Baseball. I'm number 1 in Major League Baseball profit in 2024, number 1 in all sports profit 2024, and number 1 last 30 days. I've made $3,400 profit for my clients in the last 30 days, and I've doubled their bankroll in the last 6 months. So going pretty good. Grab my 5% play at my page at WagerTalk.com. And let's cash these free plays that I'm giving on the show as well.
It's Tokyo Brandon, and part of the All Sports with Tokyo is not only the number 1 ranking, but also you get Asian baseball, Korean, and Japanese. So yet another capper you might want to consider with that buy 2 months, get 3 months special right now at WagerTalk.com. You get the rest of August for free, any and all cappers you'd like when you get September and October. And you see you have until August 11th, but why delay? Because every day you get on board now is a day sooner you get of August for free. I'm Steve Merrill. I'll be on MLB First Pitch tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern with Dan Alexander and Bryan Leonard. Teddy Covers is up next with Opening Line Report. You have 10 minutes to jump in the swimming pool and have a barbecue because summer officially ends here in 12 minutes at 1 p.m. Eastern. I'm getting nervous. 10 a.m. Pacific, Teddy. And then chaos begins tomorrow when the Prez returns on Tuesday. Take us home.
Sure. That's going to wrap it for the Monday edition. Like Steve said, Opening Line Report for the NFL comes 12 minutes from now. Stick around. Between now and tomorrow's Wager Talk Today, enjoy the games and best of luck with all your bets.